So moving on with the news, a lot of the stuff this week, it's all kind of grouped together. It's all business stuff, really. So it's the stuff that Disco prefers rather than spoilers and whatnot. So I've heard, I got from a source that AEW put out a little bit of false info this week about their Forbidden Door show. There's a strategy out there. Eddie Hearn uses it, the boxing promoter, where there's a when you're doing an event, the fair trade only allows you to charge up to a certain amount for ringside. So it's considered reasonable to have a face value of about $2,000, $1,500 for a ticket. So sometimes what these promoters do is they buy up their own tickets and then they release them onto third-party websites so they can make like what they really want to make on them. So this is what is believed what happened with AEW, and it's believed also that their actual pre-sale was about 25% of the tickets, not what they were saying that they sold. In addition to that, what I found out was, I need to go back to this.
For what event are you referring to?
The Forbidden Door event that they said were pretty much sold out today.
The one with New Japan?
Yeah. In addition to that, where's this info? Just going through it now. They held back some tickets for this VIP package, which they're trying to sell. So they didn't sell these, but they're counted as being sold, but they haven't actually sold them. So what they obviously inevitably they will sell them because they have that like marquee kind of fan base. But there's an AEW Super VIP experience and an AEW VIP experience with one ringside ticket in the first 3 rows, posed with a belt, photo taken by a professional photographer, access to a VIP lounge, complimentary appetizers, cash bar, commemorative VIP merchandise item, VIP ticket and laminate, poster, early entry with merchandise shopping and an on-site host. So they're still selling these super experienced VIP tickets for their pay-per-view and a VIP experience which is slightly later. This wasn't factored in.
Billy, could you do me a favor and send me that information when you get a chance? Text it to me.
Yeah.
Okay, but go ahead. Continue.
Yeah, so a lot of these numbers were fudged. So I have no doubt they'll make a sellout, but I do know that they have tickets that they own through third-party sites that they're going to make more money on. And I also know that their pre-sale was 25% and not 75%. And I also know they have all of their ringside tickets tied up in AEW VIP experience packages. So, yeah, so it's not a big story, but like they're trying to promote a one-day sellout. I don't know why. They'll sell out anyway. So I don't see the point of that. But it just seems like the kind of thing Tony Khan is doing. Staying with that, anyone want to say anything? Or
I just don't find that any different than anything any other promoter would do. Try to make their event seem bigger there and better than what it really is. So sometimes you'll draw 13,000 people and you'll say we drew 15,000. Not a big difference, but it sounds better. And
well, the one thing Tony Khan is very good at is he is overhyping. Right. He's a good hype man for his product. Like he gets people interested and just stuff. So I think he's good. He's good at that. I'm not looking at that as anything negative. I do think it's interesting.
The only problem, though, he does run the risk that when you overhype stuff and you don't deliver a lot of times, you start losing credibility.
It's true. But that hasn't stopped it from overhyping. Right. One thing I do notice is that I'd like to talk about this, is that we're seeing the pattern for a long time has been, look, the WWE's business is doing great. However, the one thing they're having difficulty with is the ratings on their weekly television shows. Right, like Raw underperforms, the lowest ratings, something, right. And it's very difficult. Okay, but the one thing that the WWE, and that's professional wrestling today, and maybe this is because it's a generational thing, because there's so many things out there that people have other interests in with social media, video games, and stuff, everything, that wrestling has become a big event genre. Okay, and then that. Big events are like the only thing that people that only shows like more interest than the weekly television. Like weekly TV is kind of like underwhelming across the board on all these shows. However, WrestleMania is always a big event. The Saudi show is a big event. SummerSlam is a big event. All Out is a big event. Forbidden Door is a big event. And so like when we've seen the wrestling fans, because it's a smaller base, It's like it's hard to keep their interest on a weekly basis. So delivering big events gets the interest up. And I think it's kind of weird that, like, I don't know if that metric, like you can look at that metric as either a positive or a negative. The wrestling media and the people in the business have always spin this as positive. Meltzer's is on Twitter talking about the 3,000 tickets sold out in record time. They've done $2 million in gates in these events and everything. So it's like, and I'm like, yeah, but that's like that's the only positive metric that wrestling's showing these days. You can deliver big events and get people interested in them. So how do we get people interested on a weekly basis on the television product again? And it's like, I think I look at just the fact that the big events are the only thing that's trending up as more of a negative to the business, to the fact that we have to open our eyes like, dude, your weekly episodic television on both companies is rather underwhelming. And the proof of that is that when we have big shows, it's kind of like that's all that people care about. What do you think about that? Do you agree?
I think the people care about the big shows is because there's too much content. So you have to pick and choose, and you'll pick the big shows. Like that makes the most sense to me. Like it's not a case of the shows are underwhelming, because I think that there's, for me, the numbers say that. They're having trouble drawing 1 million fans, AEW, It depends what you like, but I think a lot of people like what I like, which is like I don't like too much wrestling. I don't like matches that go 20 minutes for no reason. I don't like the the stages of a match, right? Anybody, obviously, you as professional wrestlers know the exact stages of the match with the shine and the finish and all of that, the bullet points. But but people may not know those specifics, but they see them. They know that when a match starts, they know it's not going to finish until 20 minutes later. They know now that the ad break is going to break it up when it's certain guys out there. So that's why the interest isn't there, because I think there's too much. WWE got criticized the other day by AEW people, but because they apparently had 39 minutes of wrestling in the first 2 hours, but that was a better show. Like that was that show where Becky came back and Oscar came back, and that was one of the best episodes of Raw for me, for my taste, because I see the television as being, I think the wrestling, like all the good wrestling, should be on the pay-per-view, because that's what you're paying for. That's like where like you build up the fight and you want to see it. If UFC had a weekly TV show, right, all they'd be doing is talking to each other so that you wanted to see the pay-per-view. That's what they'd be doing. Like if they had a weekly TV show, like people would be just talking to each other. So I think that's the issue. Wrestling's weird like that, because you're selling fights, albeit fights that are not real. But boxing doesn't have a weekly TV show, and UFC doesn't have a weekly TV show. So what people have done is they've just wielded out the important stuff. I don't think we are losing fans, but I think like the fans that that casual, like there's a casual base that will still watch, and then there's a hardcore base. But I still think they'll show out for big events. But there's no point, also, the other thing is, when you watch TV, if you miss 4 weeks of Raw, right? If you stop watching this week's Raw and you watch 4 weeks later, what did you really miss? Like, and then they keep you up to date. They're very good with keeping you up on what's been going on if you missed. But even with that update, what did you really miss? Roman's not going to lose, is he? Like Roman's not going to lose, and Bianca's not going to lose, and Charlotte's going to lose this weekend. But that is another one that's also at a big pay-per-view. So yeah, I just don't think it's not essential viewing. That's why people aren't watching it, and it's not been essential since like the mid 2000s. Well, yeah, I think I like the mid 2000s, but yeah, maybe the 90s, I guess.
Yeah, mid 2000s. I'll go with the you're right, mid 2000s. That's when it really fell off. Yeah. And it's very telling, because like yesterday, I had to go to a radio station to do promotion, and my wife drove me there, and she hadn't seen my boss in like 3 years. And he was like, he invited her to one of our big Triple Mania shows, and she was like, yeah, I'm not interested. And he was like, really? And she was like, yeah. He goes, you don't watch wrestling? She goes, no. She goes, why not? She goes, it's whack. She goes, did you used to watch wrestling? She goes, yeah, in the 90s, and like the NWO and, the cool pop, when everybody was watching.
When it was popular.
Right.
And that's another thing that bothers me at the moment, where like you had, so Punk and Punk and Bryan were going to be as big as Hall and Nash. And then you had the Blackpool Combat Club, and Mark Henry said that's going to be the NWO. Look, like when you buy T-shirts at a wrestling show, they're like £35, right? That's like they're double the price that they are at WWE.com. So all the time, like before we go to like a wrestling show, I always like go online with my kid, buy him a couple of T-shirts. I get something for myself. So I was like looking at the new stuff, and in the end, I ended up buying what I'm wearing because I work on the show with Konnan, and I like it.
Bro, let me tell you something, Billy. This is very funny. I went to WrestleMania this year, as you know, right?
Right.
The shirt that I saw the most being worn was NWO and Wolfpack shirts.
Really?
Bro, I talked about this on this show like maybe a year ago. So why don't they revamp the NWO with new characters? I don't understand why they don't do that. You could bring Bischoff in, just hey, here's my new NWO, and you got like 5 or 6 guys. You have Ronda, Rhea Ripley, like some big guys and stuff, and just do it again. I don't know. They own the IP for it. It's right. Like, and then the shirt. It's like just do a new NWO. It's like I don't understand why they don't do that. It's kind of weird.
See, people always thought if that was going to come to fruition that it would be like Cena would recreate Hollywood Hogan and turn heel and be, you know what I mean? But Cena's gone.
Well, I'm just saying there's a lot of interesting avenues you go. Billy, have you buy a lot of merchandise? Have you seen a lot of the great T-shirts that the Creative Control Network has on their Pro Wrestling Tees page that maybe you might be interested in?
That's true. You could get a Mark Road Order shirt, a Dexter shirt, maybe possibly beer.
You don't do justice to it with your self-deprecating humor. Why don't you pull it up and let this guy see
let Billy check
what this guy sells? And by the way, Billy,
is a collector of wrestling merchandise. So
Billy, please keep in mind that when you look at this assorted T-shirt collection, right?
Right.
Our podcast producer here has literally at least 15 shirts, and me and Disco probably have 3 or 4 combined. But go ahead.
I'm pulling out some shirts and you'll see like a theme with these.
What do you think about some of these options here, Billy? And what that Mark World, the MWO shirt? What do you think about that? Up there, the top row.
That was a good seller.
Which is actually my idea. But anyways, How about the second one is a cat? Is a picture of his cat. All right.
Now, I copied Raven on that because he has a shirt of his dog. So that's why I did that.
Oh, gee, that really...
What about this one here? The JoJo the producer shirt, Billy. 3rd row, first shirt. Would you wear that? Billy, you interested in just off
here? You had the people going, who's JoJo the producer? Yeah.
Are you interested in any of these shirts? Buy your kid one of these. When is his birthday?
But he wouldn't know what it was. That's the thing. If you follow the product, then yeah. I mean,
here's the best seller right here was beer and wrestling. That's
how brutal is this?
Oh my god. Yeah, hit the thing.
I went a little nuts.
Redneck fans.
I went a little nuts on T-shirt designs early on. So,
all right, what else we got, Billy? Got any other wrestling news?
I pulled these out. I don't have all the T-shirts that I have in the drawer, like
Austin 360, right? Old school stuff, right?
Yeah.
Austin, that's a classic. I mean, nothing to do with beards and wrestling, but
let me tell you something. My gym.
I was at that WrestleMania.
Yeah. My gym at my thing. 2 different people that work out in the gym. One of them has worn the Acknowledge Me shirt, and another one has worn the Bloodline shirt.
Right.
So it's like, and that's all the wrestling merch you see. I mean, it's very difficult to find people like these days wearing wrestling merchandise as opposed to back in the day when people were wearing NWO. You go to sports games and people got NWO shirts on and stuff like that.
Remember, for a time though, when
I haven't worn this, so I'm going to wear this.
Nasty boys.
That's sweet.
Remember, for a time though, guys like Jericho and the Bucks and Kenny and all, they had their shirts in Hot Topic, so they were pretty hot sellers at the time. Jericho's shirts, especially.
Yes.
Yeah, still wouldn't see people wearing them.
Right.
Yeah, it's all old. Everything's old. Like it's all. It's new, but it's all old.
Yo, what up? This is Konnan, and I host Keeping It 100. My co-host, Disco Inferno, unfortunately.
Well, I'd say you're my co-host.
Listen, every Thursday here on Spreaker, we talk pro wrestling, sports, movies, music, TV, pop culture, and some politics. It's everything the rest of the pro wrestling podcasts are not.
Tune in to hear myself, the superior one, educate and inform.
Tune in to hear me bury disco.
That's very disrespectful.
Join us every Thursday on Spreaker and keep it 100. Boom!